concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. I'm so happy to be with you here on a Monday evening. It is a beautiful, beautiful day. I didn't fly. I feel bad on days this good for not having flown. I gotta work. I gotta talk about it with my therapist for a while. I'm super happy to be closing out the day here with you on a stream. Talking about FPV. Taking your questions. But first, hi, Fun for World FPV. You get the free message at the beginning of the stream. First, we're going to, before we take any of your questions and comments, and by the way, as if you're new to the stream or if you haven't watched the stream in a while, I got some help from It's Blunty. Here, let me unmute him. Say hi, Blunty.
Hey, it's me.
Hey, that was
here.
quick. I didn't think you'd be that ready to go. Blunty is going to be queuing up questions for me, so don't worry. If I'm talking and babbling, he's got them. Check it out. He's got them ready to go. We'll see how that goes. But I'm going to start with something. I'm going to meet you again, Blunty. I'm going to start with something. A little recap. Yesterday I mentioned that I was taking my kids to the Mario movie. I expressed a little bit of cynicism about whether it would be like good or a shameless cash grab. I just wanted to follow up on that and say that it was a respectable and loving tribute to Mario. Honestly, I don't know why I would have expected anything less from Nintendo. It's not like Nintendo is careless with their intellectual property. It was fundamentally a forgettable movie to me. I don't know, maybe if you're a Mario super fan, you would. It was fairly formulaic in its story beats. I do appreciate all of the tributes that they had to the history of Mario throughout the, probably a lot more Easter eggs than even I got because I'm not a Mario super fan. But it was very respectful to the property. And I'm happy to say one of the criticisms that I think soured me on the movie was when the trailer first came out and Chris Pratt was like, "Hey, a Mario." And people were like, he's not doing the Mario voice. And like, I want to say, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to tell you. It's right at the beginning of the movie. It's not like it's a spoiler, but I will say that they explain, they acknowledge, and respectfully pay tribute to the original voice of Mario. And then they're like, okay, but we're not going to do that for the whole effing movie. And they just get on with the normal voices. So I thought they handled it really well. If you're a Mario super fan, I think you're going to like it. And if you have kids who are like, they'll enjoy it. It's an enjoyable movie. I did sleep through, like, as a dad, I go into the movie with my kids. We all sit down. I sit there and I eat popcorn and I watch the movie for the first like third to half of the movie. Then I fall asleep. Then I just fall asleep. And then I wake up like for the last 10 minutes of the movie and watch the climactic ending. That's my MO. And that's what happened. So something in the middle of the movie might have changed my opinion, but yeah, just quiet, just take a nap. Okay. Welcome to the live stream. Here's what we got going on. If you're new here, say hello. First of all, say hello. Love to have you as a viewer, and just love to we'll give you a little shout out maybe. But I'm going to be taking your questions here in the chat. It's Blunty's going to be queuing them up for me. Pelagrosi, good to see you. JK10. It's Blunty is also going to be paying a special attention to the folks over here on my Discord server. This is my Discord server, and what makes these people so special is that they are my patrons. They pay me money, and they get to live over here in the Discord server with each other, and get half my screen on my live streams. And also, just a reminder that if you want to make sure that I read your question on stream, hit the $ right down here and leave a super chat. I also take questions from regular chat and from the Discord. The super chat is the only way to be like 100% sure I read your question on stream. But as always, you are welcome to email me. Anyone is welcome to email me, not just patrons, not just people who contribute. Anyone is welcome to email me, jb@joshuabardwell.com, with questions about FPV. I clear my inbox about once a day, sometimes not quite once a day. And so if I don't get to your question on the stream, please don't feel bad. It's not rejecting you. I just didn't get to your question on the stream. So you got to pay to be in a community, Omasubi? Well, that depends on your definition of the community, Omasubi. You are in the FPV community right now. You're in my live stream chat right now. Nobody's charging you money to be there. But if you want access to the Discord server, you got to pay. That's like for so long in my FPV YouTube career, I didn't charge anybody. I just gave everything away for free. And there were no special benefits to being a patron. And when I started my Discord server, I thought I would rather that my Discord server be a little bit smaller and more personal and not have just, if you look at servers like Mr. Seal's server, it's like just thousands and thousands of people. And it just doesn't have the same feel that I was going for. So I thought, well, how can I lock this down a little bit? And it was so it's $2. The patron level, the lowest patron level is $2 a month. And if you want to be a member, that's what you got to do. And if it's not worth $2 a month, like I said, I'll still answer your emails, but you just don't get to be on the Discord server. That's fine. It's fine. And if you don't like that, that's cool too. We'll just have a difference of opinion. We'll get on with our life. Okay. The price of a coffee. I mean, these days, right? Ha ha! Alrighty. I'm going to start with this question from Slug Prince. Are the monitors wall-mounted or desk-mounted? This is not really an FPV question, but I'll answer it. They are the monitors. Oh, I see. Yeah, the monitors are desk-mounted. I don't do wall-mounted monitors because I might want to move my desk. The lights are wall mounted, but the monitors are not. No more bees, hopefully. A little honeybee came in my room during yesterday's stream. I have not seen any more honeybees, and that's good because sometimes honeybees make a honeybee nest in some part of your house that you don't want them. And when you see a lot of honeybees around, anyway, bees are friends, though. Bees are friends. Let's start with some questions. We're going to start with this question from Benji 2020. Let me unqueue him. Benji asks, I am designing a 300-gram 4-inch drone that uses 4S batteries for a school club. What motor and prop combination would you recommend for such a build? In the 300-gram 4-inch category, I wouldn't want anything smaller than a 2004 motor. I think these days there are some better motors that are a little bigger. My big dislike of the 2004 is that it's a 2mm motor shaft, and as a result, the durability is really trash. I'm going to throw this out to the chat. Like, I think you could go from about a 2004 up to something like the FPV Cycle 23mm motor. It would be kind of like the biggest motor I would think about. Oh, wrong window here. Hang on a second. So this is like the FPV Cycle 2303. I feel like I would go for a little bit bigger motor on a 4-inch. I don't know if you'll hit your 300-gram target with this motor. Probably. So this is listed as a 3-inch Cine Ape motor. Should we go for the 23mm tall? Is that overkill for a 4-inch prop? That's got an M5 shaft. That's probably going to give you more versatility in the props. I don't want 5-inch. 4S 4-inch. Yeah, this is the motor. This is the motor right here. So this is for 4S 4-inch high-powered 2330 kV. I would probably get the 2330 kV version of this motor. And there's people out there who would say this would be overkill, but the smaller, lighter motors just have really trash durability. Like I would be something like this. Is this a 2305? Does it even say? 2306? That's kind of overkill. 18 does. So don't get the 1830. That might be overkill. Ciati FPV, you got an opinion? Ciati likes the 2104. Which 2104 is Ciati? So that 23 might be overkill. The RC and Power GTS V3 2104. Does that have like a 2.5mm shaft though? Oh, it is a 3mm shaft. Okay. It's got a T-mount, which I'm not a big fan of. He's not building the Cine Ape though, Ciati. I don't think he's building the Cine Ape. Oh, Ciati's like, what are we talking about? All right, because Ciati is so knowledgeable about quads in this size, we're going to go swing back through. Ciati, he's building a 300-gram 4-inch drone on 4S. You want to throw us a suggestion? And then we're going to move on. Let's see what Ciati has to say. No pressure, Ciati. 2104. I see that's... I don't like 2004 because the 2mm shaft is not durable, in my opinion. A 2104 with a 3mm shaft could be okay. And the 23 from FPV Cycle is probably overkill. That would probably be like the top of my range for this. Still waiting for Ciati to weigh in. Oh well, he'll catch up. Okay. Well, I think I don't think the chat's that far behind. So, oh, here he goes. For a school club, I'm guessing you don't want heinous power. I don't know why you would assume that. Let me put Ciati's answer up here on chat. For a school club, I'm guessing you don't want heinous power, but for motor sizing 1804 bare minimum, you just love that 1804. That's just like, you're always recommending that number. That motor. The X-Nova, so we would say the X-Nova 1804 up to, in my opinion, the FPV Cycle 23 millimeter. And there you go. What KV? Ciati, what KV on the X-Nova 1804? Okay. We're going to move on. Mike Bergman thinks that the 2004 motors are 1.5 millimeter shaft normally. You could be right, Mike. I just know the shaft is too small. I'll tell you that. 3,500 kV, he says. Yeah, that's the thing about the FPV Cycle. The FPV Cycle motor, the kV is a little low for 4-inch. I'm a little surprised. Anthony Greco says he runs those motors on my 4-inch Micro Apex, but unfortunately, I don't know what motors he's referring to because of delay and so forth. Yeah, Mike Bergman, that's it. I think, Mike, you may be thinking of the prop, the T-mount prop shaft. I'm talking about the internal shaft that goes through the bearings, and they're not the same size. Okay. All right. Let's go with this question from Joe Wade. And I can't unqueue it. I don't know why. Valenti, it won't let me right-click on this. I don't know why. Oh, god dang it. Oh, that control click works. Okay, thank you, Valenti. Joe Wade says, I've been thinking about getting a small drone, but I don't know what to look for. Can you help? Well, Joe, how small is small? By the way, Joe asked this question way before the live stream begun, so there was a fair chance that we would have missed it, but I saw it, and I'm glad we were able to get it. A small drone, but how small is small? Are we talking about a tiny whoop? Are we talking about a sub 250 3-inch? How small is small, Joe? If you're there and you answer the question, I'll try and catch it. If you're looking for a tiny whoop, let me just head on over to my website, fpvknowitall.com. It's a little early to plug my website, but it does have the answer to your question. It's home of the Ultimate FPV Shopping list. And I could go to the Tiny Whoop page here. And we'll look for, I would get like a 65 millimeter freestyle Tiny Whoop build. Is there just a basic build? We could get one of these bind and flies. Don't get a build. Get a bind and fly and get something like the Mobula 6 or the Acroby or the Mobula 7. You could take a look at the text here and help you sort of zero in on which one you think is best for you. But the Mobula 6 is a pretty solid choice if you're looking for something in the tiny whoop class. If you're looking for a sub 250, like a 3-inch, then one of these will do. GepRC Smart 3.5, Emax Babyhawk 2. Well, that's a digital HD one. You may not want that one. Or the... I feel like there's one that's missing here. There's a Happy Model Crux. I feel like the Happy Model Crux should be on this page. So that's a toothpick. So the other thing you could do is you could look at toothpick drones, which are a little bit different. They're a little smaller and lighter. And you could get something like the Happy Model Crux 3 is probably going to be really, really fun to fly. A big question that you're going to want to answer is, are you going to fly indoors? In which case you really want something with prop guards and it's very small. So it's not going to damage your furniture and your walls. If you're going to be flying outdoors, I think you're going to want something more in the 3-inch class. Yeah, the Flywoo Nano 2.0 is great. Yep, also great. So there you go. DDOT asks, I have DJI Goggles 2 and V2 as well as Integra. Well, Mr. Moneybags. I was wondering if audience mode works with the hacks on the goggles. Doesn't seem to work for me unless I take the ham hack off. Audience mode should work because when you enable audience mode on the newer goggles, DDOT continues to say, I got it to work, but I had bad reception. So the reception will be worse. And the reason the reception is worse is that with the newer goggles, the pilot's goggle rebroadcasts the signal. And what that means is that the problem with the V2 goggles, where the audience mode spectators have much worse video link than the pilot, that is not true when you're working with the Goggles 2, Goggles Integra, and the O3 Air unit. And if you have the V2 goggles and you're using them with the O3 Air unit, then what happens is that the pilot rebroadcasts the signal and the other goggles tune into that rebroadcast from the pilot's goggles. But the trade-off is that some of the bandwidth that you would use to talk to the aircraft is now being used to talk to the other goggles nearby, and so you get worse link quality. So the other thing is that if one of the systems has the ham unlock turned on and the other doesn't, then I guess in theory one of them could be operating on a frequency that the other doesn't support. So you would want to ham unlock all of them, although I don't know that for sure, but it seems like you would. Ooh. Super62 wants to know, what happened to the 3D style of flying? Does anyone do it much anymore? So for those who don't know, 3D means that when you flip, you can flip the quadcopter upside down and the motors will reverse so the quadcopter can fly upside down. And it's some really mind-bending style of flying. In fact, let's go on YouTube. Let me find an example here. Okay, great. Yeah. This is some footage from Zoe FPV. Zoe flies 3D. She's probably the best well-known 3D pilot. If you're not familiar, I'm not going to turn the audio on, but you can see she turns upside down, and then she hasn't done any blatantly 3D moves yet. She's kind of fooling us. All of the moves so far you probably could do with a regular quad. But she'll pull it out. And, oh, look, I'm just going to fly upside down here, right? So she is manipulating. Now we're just going to fly upside down for a minute. She's manipulating the quad in ways that you simply couldn't do if you didn't have 3D props. I actually really like her style because she doesn't often just like turn upside down and go, hey, I'm flying upside down, everybody. She does it sometimes, but most of the time she kind of just mixes it in a little bit subtly. So like if you didn't know what 3D was, you would be like almost confused. And I kind of like the trickiness of it. The question is, why doesn't anybody seem to do 3D anymore? Well, Zoe has not made content in a little while. I think she's had some personal issues that I don't really want to sort of like try to dive into because I don't really have any of the details. And, you know, other than her, I don't think there were a lot of people out there who sort of made 3D a center of their style. One of the things about 3D is that when you fly with 3D, if you want good performance of your props, oh, there you go. So now there is blatantly a move that could only happen with 3D. Now she's really pulling it out. This is a really good run. So 3D pilots will have symmetrical props that work just as good upside down as they do right side up. But the problem is that they work just as bad upside down as they do right side up. You sort of can't have it all. That's a really gosh dang cool move. Wow. And so pilots who aren't really invested in it will pick props that are better when they're right side up and not really worry about flipping upside down. I think that a lot of people just never took the time to develop the skill. And I don't know if 3D is like harder to watch for people and kind of confusing. But I think what happened to the 3D style of flying was that Zoe was really the main person who did it, and then she stopped making content, and yeah. Let's see. Bubby FPV points out, Minchan Kim posted the best 3D video ever. I mean, I effing believe it. Minchan Kim, he's like, oh, hi, I'm just going to blow your mind here. Let's look up. See if I can find Minchan Kim's 3D video. Is there like a title, Bubby? Is there a title for it? How can I find it? Bubby says, I'll try 3D. Bubby, you need to try 8S 3D. Let's see here. Cheech FPV says we need to master 2D first. 3D is just too hard for me. Yeah, 3D is hard, and the payoff is debatable. So I think a lot of people don't bother with it. Thank you, Plenty. It's Not Sam has posted a link to the Minchan video. Let's check it out. Hello. Oh, right here. Okay. This is FPV. Again, I'm not going to play the music, just because I don't want to risk a copy strike. But let's go ahead and this is Minchan Kim's attempt at 3D. I'll bet it's pretty good. Hey, oh my God, is this the correct speed? Can I put the playback speed? I'm just going to put the playback speed on 0.75 so that I can, my brain doesn't explode. I hope you guys will forgive me for that. This is Minchan Kim at 3/4 speed. Am I doing him a disservice by putting it at 3/4 speed? So you can see these little pushes that he does when he's inverted, where he gets just a little bit of extra hang time inverted, or he's able to do moves like that. The interesting thing is that, if you watch Spang pilots, there we go. See, he couldn't do that without 3D. But if you watch Spang pilots, it looks like they must be using 3D sometimes, and they aren't. Most of the time, if not all the time. It's just tricks with the physics. But moves like that, you couldn't do without 3D. All right, let's put Minchan at full speed instead of 3/4 speed. Normal speed. Oh my God. It hurts my brain. Sheesh. What is even happening? I don't even know. Are those obstacles in the trees? I mean, that is badass, I'll tell you. Oh, hello. So I think you could start to see maybe why it didn't get more popular. When he's inverted, he's just kind of staring at the ground. The camera angle isn't right. It's not very pleasant to look at as a viewer. I think to me, what would make 3D the most interesting is when it's just kind of sprinkled in a little bit. But for the most part, the flying, it's used to enhance normal flying. There's no question that what Minchan's doing is amazing. I'm not actually sure I'm enjoying looking at it, if that makes sense. Wow. All right. It's pretty freaking cool, though. JB needs to learn who Flexo 3D is. All right. Who's Flexo 3D? Flexo. We'll look at one more video. This is going to be just JB looks at 3D videos. Well, anybody who starts their channel off with a Futurama reference, I'm all for. However, the majority of these content is shorts, and I don't feel good about it. Are these all 3D? Raw DVR prop noise. All right, here, let's turn the video on here. Yeah, you can hear the motors reversing. Listen. We're going to do an inverted trippy spin? Is that what's going on? So you can hear that little stutter as the motors reverse. Okay. Interesting. So, yeah. It's interesting that when I can hear the stutter, I can see a little bit of shudder as he turns over and the motors reverse. Anyway. Okay. Alrighty. Eric Toft, is Flexo have a better one? I mean, I think that's it for 3D right now. I think we're going to move on, but, yeah. Uh-oh. Gemfan Hobby is here. I'm in trouble. Gemfan Hobby says, I heard a rant about our old naming system. Our old naming system, I guess, I mean, you still sell the props. Yeah, I did. I ranted about the fact that your 51499 prop, or whatever, 51477, is not a 4.77 pitch, as the name would suggest. And as everyone's website says, because they make the same assumption, that the 51477 prop is a 3.7-inch pitch, which I think is dumb, that it was not named 5137. Like everyone would assume. I'm not going to redo the rant, but also, if you look at every product page that sells this prop, they say 4.77-inch pitch because they assume the naming standard is the same as has always been. Now, Gemfan Hobby says they're going to give an explanation. I mean, you could try.
I can tell you what they told me.
Hang on a second. Blunty says, I can tell you what they told me. Go ahead, Blunty. Hang on, Blunty.
Fan.
Oh, nope. Start over.
Okay, we ranted about this on the news one time. And
Yeah.
Gemfan mentioned that all their new props have proper naming, or at least have names that don't imply the incorrect information. But the old props have iconic names that people understand already, even though they're the wrong sizes. So they feel like it's better to keep the old names so that people understand what they're buying, instead of just deleting the old lines and then making new props.
Yeah, no, the 51477 is a good prop. Obviously, it's got my name on it. It's one of my favorite props. And I agree that you shouldn't just then, like, make a new prop called the 5137, and then everybody would be like, it's the same as the 47? What's the difference? I think the mistake was made years ago, and now we're just stuck with it. And if anything, I would say maybe a bigger effort to get stores to update their product listings. But like, they're obviously Gemfan isn't in charge of the stores. But having done the thing, I'm going to rant about it, because I don't think there's any good reason for having. The question I would have would be, and maybe Gemfan is, I'll check in the chat, why did this ever happen? Because as far as I can remember, the props like the old HQ 514, 5140. Right? It's a 5040, sorry. It's a 5.0 inch prop with a 4.0 inch pitch. As far as I can remember in the hobby, that's how props were named. Why did it ever get done this way?
Gemfan suggests it was a manufacturing naming system for organizing. As soon as Mike got in charge, they got to a new system that properly named the props.
Good.
So I get the rock and the hard place they're in, because they don't want to just delete the old line. They want to have the name recognition of the old line, but a lot of people assume the wrong sizes. Like you said, I think the biggest issue is when you go to a manufacturer's page to buy the props, they say the wrong sizes. Yeah.
So I mean, it sounds like Mike agrees with me that this is dumb, and Mike fixed it. That's great. I mean, that's good to know. We're all on the same page. This is dumb.
Right.
It shouldn't be this way. But there's nothing you can do about it now, because I agree. You're not going to like just throw out the 51477, which a lot of people fly, and you're not going to change the name now that everybody knows what it is. We just need to get the word out that it's not a 4.7-inch pitch, I guess. It's about education. He says the mold number was 466. That's stupid. I mean, I understand why that makes sense from a manufacturing perspective. That doesn't make any sense from a customer perspective. The customer doesn't care what mold number it is. Anyway. All right, Gemfan. Well, thanks for coming. And thanks for agreeing with me that naming convention is dumb. That's how I'm going to remember this conversation anyway. All right. Continuing on. B-Man FPV wants to know, were you an SNES guy or a Genesis guy back in the day? I was first a Genesis guy. I did later get an SNES as well. but I was a Genesis guy first, and I enjoyed being like an outsider and playing Sonic while all my friends were playing Mario and feeling like, ooh, Streets of Rage. Oh, Streets of Rage. Oh, such a good game. Streets of Rage on Genesis. Can I just, for just a minute, hey, Bubby. Bubby. This is what you're missing out on. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, the music brings back memories. And you didn't even have to put quarters in the machine. You could just play it at home. It was just basically a Double Dragon kind of style ripoff. I used to put so much money in Double Dragon at the arcade. Oh, man. Anyway, good stuff. Good stuff. Black Jungle says, if you want to rant about naming things, I got another one for you. The new GNB connector called the A10. It's the same as a Samsung phone. So if you look for an A10 battery, you only find Samsung stuff. I mean, okay, but I mean, the world is a great big place, so. Let's see here. Aaron Ward, thank you for a $5 super chat. Just want to say thanks for all you do. You helped get me into the FPV world. I started 2 weeks ago and built my first drone. Thank you so much, Aaron Ward. Zero Taste Guy, what goggle VRX VTX system would you currently recommend? I live in Germany, so the used market is basically non-existent. Budget's around 900 euros, which gets you the goggles Integra and the O3 Air unit as an example. So Zero Taste Guy, this is a question that I will annoy the crap out of you with my answer because I'm not going to give you a straight answer. Because there is no one right answer for everyone. However, okay, I will give you an answer in just a second. But I want to say that the exact right system, so if you have 900 euros as a budget, almost certainly you're going to get a digital system. The main reason that people get analog systems today is budget, in my opinion. Maybe if you fly a lot of like really small quads, there's a compelling argument for analog. But I think that most people who have the budget to go to digital have gone to digital at this point. Maybe that's a hot take. Hot take! So with the 900 euro budget, I would say probably you're not going to choose analog. So then the question is HD0, Walksnail, or DJI. And although there are things about Walksnail and HD0 that make them better than DJI, if you look at the sales numbers, it's pretty clear that most people are happiest with DJI. And the question that I think you got to ask yourself is, am I going to be one of the outliers who doesn't like DJI? Okay? So you got to think about what draws people to HD0 and Walksnail and what drives people away from DJI, and then decide if you fit that mold. But I think the default position for somebody with 900 euros to spend would be the O3 and the Integra goggles. And then it's like, now convince me away from that. That's your starting point. I have a video. I put out. It's like 45 minutes long. So, hey, what are you going to do? You don't have to watch the whole video if you don't want to. You can go to the titles, the chapter markers. And here in the chapter markers, I've got suggestions for if you're on a very tight budget, if you have plenty of money but don't want a hassle, if you race. So just look at these chapter titles and say which of these seems to suit me, right? Or just watch that section of the video if you prefer, or just watch the whole video. And that will give you some idea of which one to pick. But if you were to like force me, if you were to say, look, just give me a straight answer, you SOB, stop waffling, I would say get the O3 with Integra. Statistically, that's the one that you are most likely to be happy with. Statistically. All right. Let's see. Chris wants to know how long will we see until we see toroidal props from Gemfan. And Gemfan replies, as soon as we can find a way to give proper credit to MIT, not just use their design and profit from it. Interesting. Yeah. I would say that most of the people, if not all of the people who are producing toroidal props are not actually using MIT's design, because I don't think MIT has published their actual design. Whoever markets it first is going to rake in the cash. I think toroidal props are going to be a flash in the pan. If someone makes toroidal props, people will buy the shit out of them, but I think that they're going to find that they don't actually have the advantages that, like, I don't know, maybe they will. Anyway, good to hear that Gemfan's trying to do the right thing, right? Let's see here. You know, Blunty, I just realized a problem, which is that if I'm scrolling through the queue, and by the way, Blunty has currently 31 messages in the queue. I doubt we will get to all of them. Oh, I see. No, I can see which ones are super chats. I got to make sure I get all the super chats. I can see over here on the right side, okay, I just realized that. Why are we looking at a phone mount for a Mustang? Oh, we don't need that. Okay. Let's make sure I do get some of these super chats. Cheech FPV says, do you have to install WTFOS to change the OSD fonts on the O3? Watched your video and I'm still unsure. Thank you for $5 super chat, Cheech FPV. Cheech, you've got some misconceptions here. So first of all, WTFOS has absolutely no interaction with the O3 air unit whatsoever. You cannot root an O3. You cannot root a Goggles 2. You cannot install WTFOS on them. WTFOS doesn't exist as far as the O3 air unit is concerned. The only time WTFOS would come close to interacting with the O3 would be if you have a V2 goggles, and the V2 goggles can be in O3 mode, they can be in Avata mode, they can be in DJI FPV drone mode, and they can be in DJI FPV digital FPV system mode. The DJI digital FPV system mode is the mode where they interact with the Vista, and that is the mode of the goggles where you will root them and install WTFOS. But those modes are distinct. So when you root the goggles and install WTFOS, you are rooting the digital FPV system mode that interacts only with the V2 goggle. When you switch over to O3 mode, WTFOS is irrelevant and doesn't apply anymore. So to answer the question you actually asked, you cannot change the font when using the O3 air unit. It's not supported. DJI hasn't supported it. And installing WTFOS doesn't change that for the reasons that I said. Thank you, Black Jungle 308, just showing my support and asking what microphone you use. So technically not just showing my support. This microphone is a Rode NT-USB. It's been pretty good for me. I wanted that podcaster effect where I've thought about whether I should put like a shotgun mic up here or even put a shotgun mic hanging down. Like professionals will have a mic on a boom because they don't want the mic in the shot and they don't want to put a lavalier mic on their talent. And so a lot of times what professionals will do is they'll have a mic on a boom just out of shot. And I'm like, I could do that. But I kind of wanted, first of all, I like this microphone. I like how it sounds. And I like the kind of podcaster look of having it in the shot. So I'll show you an interesting piece of history. Hang on. I think I still have this. Oh, there it is. Oh my goodness. So this is a Zoom, what what is it? Zoom H2N. It is a microphone. It is also an onboard recorder. And years ago, when I first started my channel, a buddy of mine, his name is Brett Bamford, and he was one of the very first, he was the first guy to start the Knoxville FPV racing chapter. Oh my God, there's still batteries in here. There's rechargeable batteries in here. They're well and truly dead. And I was over at his house one day, and he was like, "Here, you want this?" And he gave it to me. It's not an inexpensive piece of equipment, and it was the first like big upgrade to my production. You can see if you go back through my old videos when I switched to this microphone, and it was a very, very kind thing he did to give it to me. I still have it to this day. I don't really use it anymore. In fact, he got out of FPV and started riding motorcycles and gone on with his life. But it was a very, very kind and generous thing at the time. To spend $100+ on a mic like this was just completely out of the question. And it is a very sentimental memory for me. Run Puppy FPV says, "Can I have it?" I should do a giveaway because, like I said, I don't use it anymore. The right thing to do would be to pass it on to another person. Run Puppy FPV, I'm not just going to give it to you because you were the first one to ask. If I do give it away, I'll do an actual giveaway on my channel and give everybody a chance to enter. Sorry, no offense. But, yeah, that's a good idea. I should do that. Alejandro, as long as we're talking about my equipment, Alejandro Gallo wants to know about the lights in front of me. Yeah, I can tell you. So the lights are Amazon. I'm going to show you what I would buy today because these lights are a little bit old. Hang on, let me make sure I'm logged into the right account. I don't want you to see my shopping history. I want you to see my boring business-related shopping history. Let's see. So let me take that off of there. What I would buy today is dimmable bicolor. No. Maybe. I don't need the stands, though. That's close. I would want the... Oh, here we go. Now we're getting there. I don't want the stands. Does this one have the remote? So there's two things I look for. So these are Neewer brands. Neewer is a really, really good sort of balance. It's good value for money photography equipment and video equipment. It's not the best, but it's not like cheap shit. I buy a lot of Neewer stuff. And what I want to look for is I want bicolor so that it has changeable color temperature. And then what I want is there's two versions of the light. I want to see the back of the light. Excuse me. One version of the light has adjustable color temperature and adjustable brightness. And the other version just has two knobs, one for the blue and one for the red LEDs. And that's what we're looking at here. That's not the one I would like to get. There's a newer version of the light that has bicolor. Maybe it's this one, 660. You don't really need the barn doors though. No, see that's got the separate dimmers, one for yellow and one for white. And I want one with an adjustable brightness and color. So I'm not going to be able to find it. I'm not going to take like 20 minutes trying to find it here on the stream. I know it's out there. I know what let's do. Neewer LED panel, bicolor with remote. It's the one that comes with a remote. No, it's not that one though. LCD screen, is it this one? Maybe it's this one. I don't want the one with the diffuser. Yeah, here we're getting close. Yeah. I think this is it. Anyway, it's the Neewer LED panel, and I would want the kind with the remote and a separately adjustable brightness and color, as opposed to the kind where you just have an LED, one for each LED. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here.
You re-queued those, FYI.
Oh, my bad. Oh, green is out of queue. Okay. Pelagrosi, thank you for 11 Canadian dollars. Is it a question? Or is it I think Pelagrosi scares Pelagrosi's question. Yeah. Pelagrosi's question is, I have a GEP-RC Cinebot 3.0. Let me see if I can find it. I have a GEP-RC Cinebot. We left another $11 super chat. Thank you. I have a GEP-RC Cinebot 3.0 with DJI O3, controller 2, and goggles 2. I have everything bound, but when I go to beta flight and try to configure my remote, I don't have signal from the receiver. So I'm going to guess that what's wrong is the fast versus normal S-Bus option. So this is an option that can be configured in the goggles. On the V2 goggles, I actually know off the top of my head where it is. I don't know where it is off the top of my head in the O3. So if anybody in the chat can remind me where the fast S-Bus option is in the O3 menu, both me and Pelagrosi will appreciate it. But what you need to do is you need to go change the fast S-Bus option in the goggles. And that was probably the only thing. Because if you bought a Cinebot with O3 pre-installed, then they surely set it up right for you, right? And so the only thing that probably is set up wrong is this fast S-Bus option. It is in the transmission settings, says Bobby Bits. So go into the goggle menu, go into the transmission settings and look for the fast S-Bus option. And I don't know whether GEP-RC ships their quad configured for fast or normal. So you'll change it to, if it's on normal, change it to fast. Bobby Bit says, wait, no, it's in settings controller. That makes more sense. Settings controller. All right, fair enough. Thank you, Pelagrosi. Pelagrosi, there's also an option in the flight controller that you can change. And if you want to email me, jb@joshuabardwell.com, we can go through it. Okay. Let's see here. Let's make sure we get a couple more super chats out of the way. Callie FPV, thank you for a $20 super chat. I've been flying almost 2 years now. I've not flown anything but 6S 2207 1750 kV motors. What's the difference if I switch to 2306 1950 kV? Callie FPV, I would, no shit. I would bet a fair amount of money that I would just take walking bets. I just stand there and take bets all day that you can't tell the difference, not you specifically, anyone, can't tell the difference between an identical quad with 2306 versus 2207 motors. Now, I'm talking identical KV. Maybe we could even tweak the weight to be identical, although maybe that wouldn't be fair. I don't think that would be necessary. I would wager that almost no one could tell the difference. So I would just say, make me a bet that you can tell the difference blind between a 2306 and a 2207 motor. And I might lose sometimes, but I would mostly win, and I'd go home a rich man. Now, 1750 versus 1950 kV, you could probably tell the difference. 1950 out of 1750 is 11%. So you're going to get about 11% more RPM. It's going to be more responsive. So you're going to feel a small difference between 1750K and 1950 kV. But most people, the motor size, you're just not going to notice. You're not going to be able to tell. On the thrust stand, you could tell a difference in the responsiveness of the motor. But in flight, I don't see it. So 1950 kV is going to give you a little bit more power. The throttle is going to be a little harder to manage because you'll have more RPM, so you'll have to make more precise movements. And you'll probably get a little shorter flight time because you're going to be, jamming the throttle and punching out and so forth. Phantom FPV, good to see you. Good to see you, man. Phantom FPV is coming after that red kite drone from today. He reached out to me and was like, hey, you gonna keep that? Bubby FPV, I actually agree with you that prop size, Bubby says, if you want a different feel, change your props, not your motor. I agree with you, Bubby. Changing to a different pitch of prop, or maybe going with a 5.1 versus a 5.25 versus a 5.0, or maybe even a 5.5, if your frame will take it. You're going to see a lot more difference in flight characteristics by changing props than by changing from like a 2306 to a 2207. I can only think what Phantom FPV would do to that 3-inch. Like, as hard as, like, I'm like, do you want a cinematic drone, Phantom? Because as hard as you go, you're going to blow that thing up. There's no doubt. Let's keep clearing out the super chats. Okay, we're going to have a run of super chats here, all right? And then we'll go back to the regular queue. Electrical Nightmare, thank you for an 1111 super chat. Electrical Nightmare, then another $5 super chat and asks, here's another 5. Fuck, I messed up the first super chat. What would your best suggestion be for an 80-gram 4S battery in the 650 to 850 milliamp hour range? 80 grams? An 850, I have as my sort of rule of thumb that an 850 weighs about 100 grams. So an 80-gram 850 is pretty light. 650, okay. Like, there aren't a ton of those out there. 850, let's go to race day quads. Ooh, no, wait, this is perfect. Let's go to searchfpv.com. That's my the website I work with. I didn't develop it. I shouldn't say my website. It is technically on part of my website. It was developed by Eirik Toft, and it is a multi-store FPV search engine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the stores, and I'm going to type 850 milliamp hour 4S. And we're going to see what they kick back. Eagle One says the Flywoo 900 milliamp hour is 90 grams and is a beast. There's a race day quad. So I'm not interested in high volt packs, DTFPV. In general, I think an 850 high volt is really, you're overstating the actual usable milliamp hours. But Kevin Sumner, valid point. If you want an 850 milliamp hour 4S near 80 grams, it's going to have to be a high volt. I mean, that's valid, but I mean, I'm not sure I would do it. Let's see what we got here. R-Line 850 95C. R-Line 850 95C. Dogcom 850 100C. RDQ. Now here's a high volt, but we'll just keep looking. Tattoo 850 75C. I probably would skip the 75C. I would want like a 95C, so we'll skip that. CNHL 850 70C. Probably going to skip the 70C. I feel like I probably would like a higher C rating. Well, there's not as many of those 90Cs as I would prefer, and they're pretty expensive. Maybe a 75C or a 70C I would live with. I don't know. 850 4S 75C Beta FPV. Let's see what else we got. Tattoo R-Line. No, that's a 1300. 850 80C. What's that?
Ciati suggests he has all the 4S 850s, and there are no non-HVs under 100 grams. So that's a big gap there.
What's that? Hang on, I'm going to unmute you. What's that? Say it again, please. No, you're right. You were unmuted. I don't know what's going on with me. I got that backwards. But he's saying, what is he saying?
He's saying he thinks none of them are under 100 grams, much less 80.
That's what I think too. And the HVs, I agree again with Ciatia that the HVs are just flaky. Like, if you are in a situation where you absolutely have to stay under a certain weight and a high volt's the only way to do it, then okay. But I would never like willingly choose an HV. What I would do is I would buy an 850 and then I would charge it to 4.35 and damn the battery. And then instead of being 850, it would be an 1100. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm doing good. Yeah, I don't think any of these are going to get down to that weight. So like if I had to pick and I wanted high performance, probably Tattoo R-Line is going to be good. This is, I don't know, Dogcom. Is this a good battery? 850. I don't know if Dogcom makes a good battery or not. Weight, 112 grams. Yeah, no. So you got to have a high volt. If you absolutely have to hit that weight. RDQ 850 4S high volt, only 60C. No, forget it. See, it's only 60C because it's actually a 500 milliamp hour battery. All right, do you absolutely have to hit that weight? There are not great choices in that weight. So this is 70 grams, but it's going to perform poorly. That's my official answer. My official answer is if you have to, you're going to get like an 850 high volt and it's going to perform poorly. But I think you should try to find a way around that weight limit. If you can get up to about 100 grams, then that's a better place to be. Flexo 3D. Oh, Flexo 3D's here. I don't know if that's because I was talking about you, but welcome. Flexo says, I know that low C rating hurts power and can hurt the battery, but is it harder or easier on the ESC? Kind of like a battery is a fuse. I don't think so. I can tell you that a high C rating can damage the ESC. Now, before you run around and say, Bardwell said a high C rating hurts your ESC all over the internet, stop, listen to the whole thing. If the ESC can't quite handle the current of the battery, like the ESC is just under spec'd. Like we saw this, I don't remember the exact quad it was, so I think it was a Tiny Hawk, one of the first Tiny Hawks that ran on 2S. If your battery, when they swapped the connector, that's what it was. It was when they swapped the connector to an XT30. The XT30 had lower resistance, which meant that more current could flow from the battery, and suddenly people started frying their ESCs. I'm not 100% sure that it was the Tiny Hawk, so I should grain of salt, but so a low C rate battery can protect the ESC from current surges and voltage surges that could fry the ESC. Now, while you're flying, you also are getting lots of voltage sag and the quad's flying like shit. So, I mean, have a good ESC and have a high C battery. But a low C battery is going to make the quad fly worse, but it's not going to hurt the ESC. I guess low C could protect the ESC, but at the cost of the battery flying badly. Joey W. says there is a GNB 100C battery, high volt, off Amazon, and a solid battery. Okay, continuing. The super chat, the run of super chats. Edwin Ramirez, thanks for a $10 super chat, wanted to know how to get camera control working on the Brain FPV Radix 2. In the CLI, it doesn't show up under resource. Edwin, if they didn't include that in the target, you can't get it working except to compile Betaflight, except they don't publish do they publish their source? I guess they should. They must. You'd have to compile Betaflight with that function included. And if they didn't include it, then I don't know what you could do. So the first question is, did they compile camera control into their version of Betaflight, or did they leave it out? And then the second question, if they included it, but they didn't resource, then you could try to do a resource remapping and assign it. But Eric Toft says, I have a Radix Lee and can use camera control. What about the Radix 2? So try to assign it with resource remapping and see if you get a syntax error and it doesn't recognize the resource. If it's in there, you could reassign some pin to camera control and use it. We got a question here from Quad City Bay Area. I'd just like to say kudos for the Walksnail Pro low light camera and the V2 VTX. Have they or will they fix the 1200 milliwatt problem? Thank you for a $5 super chat, Quad City Bay Area. I can tell you that there's a thing they've published about calibrating the amplifier on 1200 milliwatts. And I haven't tested it. It's in my list of shit I have to get to. But there is a procedure they've published where you can like slightly turn down the power on the amplifier. So maybe you're not quite getting 1200 milliwatts, but at least it's stable. And I wish I had a resource to point you to tell you how to do it. Hang on. I mean, it's not really helpful for me to just mention that it exists and then not tell you any more about it. Where is it? Where is it? Oh yeah, it's in that conversation. It's Ivy Xiang. Yeah. So, that's not an actual instruction for how to do it. Damn it! Damn it! People in the Discord server are continuing to post batteries that might fit this criteria. So, just saying, that's how good the Discord server is. I bail on a topic and they just keep on going. Link to the Patreon's down in the video description if you want to be one of them. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Where the F is this effing thing? Nope. It's not there. Oof. Okay. Hold on. It's here. Here it is. I found it. Yay. This is a message. TJ Richardson sent me this. And here's the problem that TJ Richardson has is that the VTX's ARM at 1200 milliwatts and dropped to 50% bit rate and signal strength. ARM at 1000 milliwatts dropped to 75% bit rate and signal strength. Cadix taught me through a recalibration process with a text file and helped slightly. And here's the process. And you can like screenshot this if you want to try it. Okay? Maybe that would help. But the bottom line, I think, is that it should output 1200 milliwatts and be rock solid. So here we're redoing the calibration, which is presumably reducing the output power, so it's not driving the amplifier as hard. So, but are you still getting 1000 milliwatts or 1200 milliwatts? My guess would be no. So I don't know. Anyway, I'll make a video about that eventually. But I haven't done it yet. Continuing, trying to clear out the super chats before we get on with the regular chats. Black Jungle 308, thank you for an 11 reais. Black Jungle down in Brazil. On Tiny Whoops, using the 1S preset on Betaflight, if my quad is super light, it oscillates. Would I be right in pulling the master down? Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's where I would start, especially if the quad is super light. So a heavy quad adds sort of physical damping. So the heavier the quad is, the less responsive it is, the higher the PID gain, specifically the P gains, but all of the PIDs kind of go up. And then a super light quad, the default PIDs may be too aggressive. So I would in fact lower the master. There may be more refinement you could do where you like adjust P and D, but my guess is that the PD balance is correct and you just need to lower the master. We got a question here from IBRCN2. Thank you for 220 Canadian. What's the minimum FC ESC to consider for 4 to 6S 5-inch racing? As far as a flight controller goes, it kind of doesn't matter. You're just going to want something reasonably durable, and it's probably going to be 20 millimeters because that's what all the racers use. As far as an ESC goes, you're going to want to search a little harder because racers are real effing hard on their ESCs and will blow them up. And 20 millimeter ESCs especially struggle with durability. If we go to my website, fpvknowitall.com, you can check out the Ultimate FPV shopping list. There's a section on 5-inch racing drones and parts, and sure enough, I have a section about flight controllers and ESCs. And these are based on, obviously, I am not a top racer, right? What do I know? So this is based on what racers are using, okay? And I feel like these are really trustworthy recommendations. The Acon F7 flight controller and Acon Pro ESC. The Foxeer F722 and Reaper. The T-Motor Mini F7 is basically the same as the Acon. They look identical. In fact, it makes me think that Acon makes T-Motor's flight controllers, although T-Motor denies this. I'm like, guys, this is clearly the same flight controller. If Acon didn't make this for you, then you ripped them off. Like, I know they're not, like, exactly identical. Like, there's some small differences in their layout. But, like, they're really similar. Anyway, that's not the point. And then the Redux 32 Nano is a rock-solid 20mm ESC. And it's even available in stock. Wow, isn't that amazing? So those are some suggestions. Continuing. What's your opinion of the Darwin FPV Cine Ape? Thank you for a $2 super chat, Matt Sanders. Matt, I like the Darwin FPV Tiny Ape. The Cine Ape is their Cinewhoop. I think in general, Darwin FPV makes solid products at a really low price point. And Darwin FPV's products are good value for money. They may not necessarily live up to something that costs twice as much. But like, I could get a DJI for $350, Walksnail 316 analog for $200. That's pretty good pricing, especially the analog for $200. When I haven't flown this, and I haven't had it in my hands. So when I first saw it, though, I thought this plastic is going to break. This just looks like a sort of a... It doesn't look like a flexi... I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think the plastic's going to break. Overall, the design is pretty solid. The pusher style, the 5-blade, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-blade props. You know, these are all good choices for a Cinewhoop. And the frame, I don't see any, like, obvious, this is a bad mistake you've made. And in general, Darwin FPV has pretty solid stuff. Like, look here. This antenna is how they're saving money, right? This is not the best antenna, but it's going to get the job done. And so, like, I think probably you could get a better one by spending $50 or $100 more. But I think in this price point, it's pretty competitive and pretty compelling. Continuing with my attempts to clear out all the super chats before I get back to the other questions. Dan Z, thank you for a $5 super chat. If you had to rebuild your FPV workbench from scratch, is there anything you'd do differently? Well, I mean, so I saved up my money for a long time because I wanted some really nice drawers and benches and workbenches. You may remember I used to, for years, I had a folding table back there behind me. There's nothing wrong with that. But I saved up because I wanted to sort of posh up my workshop, my office, if you will. Those cabinets were like $5,000. I feel a tiny bit embarrassed saying it, but I really, really wanted some very nice... each of the drawers has 400-pound capacity, and I got them custom made too. So I was able to pick the exact width and depth of each drawer, exactly how I wanted it. So when you say, "Is there anything you would change?" It's like, well, I kind of already know. I already, shot my wad in that respect. Yeah. So, I would, you can't see this right now, but the next thing I would do if I was upgrading my office is I would fix these frickin' ceiling tiles that sometimes you see in the shots. These ones have water damage and are cracked. These two are just missing because, they were water damaged and were not salvageable. I would love to put in some sound dampening ones and reduce the refurb in the room a little bit. But the thought of taking all of the ceiling tiles out and making a huge mess, and I just am like, no. Not going to do it. Would I buy them again for $5,000? Well, I mean, I love them. Like, at the time that I bought them, so I don't know if you guys remember, in spring of 2020, the FPV it's probably the busiest I've seen FPV ever since I got into FPV. And I think stores, I obviously am not going to tell you who this was or what the numbers were, but at several FPV stores had like their best month in 5 years in the spring of 2020, like the April timeframe, April, May, maybe. And I think what happened was that everybody in the United States was told, not everybody, but a lot of people in the United States were told, don't come to work, stay home for 2 weeks. And also, here's a $1,200 check. And a whole lot of them decided to spend that on FPV stuff, is my guess as to what happened. And so I actually bought those around that time, like when I was like, okay, there's things are going really good. At this time, things aren't quite going as well as that. I mean, that was a record high. So the question, would you buy them again? Like if it was spring of 2020, yeah, I probably would. If it was today, and I'm not sure I could swing that much money just for some cabinets, but I'm glad I bought them. I consider it an investment. Bitterroot FPV says we carry those. Yeah. Okay. What if somebody offered you $5,000 for them today? No, because I'd have to take all my shit out of them. No way. No way. I wouldn't sell them. I'm never moving those damn things again. All right, continuing with my attempts to clear out the super chats. Anthony Greco, thank you for a $5 super chat. So many new race frames coming. Any plans for reviews? Recently built the O3 AU Open Racer I saw on Limon's channel. Great flight characteristics. I should, because I really like to keep the FPV shopping list up to date. I don't have anything specific, though. No specific plans. Thank you, Marcio Isfer Albuquerque. Thank you for 109 reais. I have 3 Spec 7 533s. They all have different motors. In common is the frame and propellers, HQ7040. I tried several setups, and the motors are running hot. Any suggestions? Can anybody in the chat tell me whether the HQ7040 is a shit prop or a good prop? I know that some of the 7-inch props are just trash and no one should use them. Is the HQ7040 a good one? I think I vaguely remember the HQ7040 being a bad one, and people saying, oh, don't use it. Tried several setups. Sounds like you haven't tried other props. What motors? The Spec 7. Oh, well, I think we can assume that the motors are sufficiently sized because it's the Spec 7 setup. The Street League runs a motor output limit, don't they? Could you be pushing the motors too hard because you're not running a motor output limit? Bannister Post says, I love the HQ 7x4x3 and the J75. I would at least try a different prop if you're allowed to under the spec racing. I would also make sure that you're hitting the RPM limit that 7-inch racing is recommended for. And, I mean, if it's a Spec 7 build, you should have the PID tune and everything from 533. Eric Toft says the Gemfan 7040 3-blade are pretty good. The other thing I would ask is how hot are the motors running? Because sometimes motors just run a little hot and it's okay. Chris Croft says if he's running Street League, there's a set of props that you have to run Street League. And they also run an RPM limit. So I wonder if he's not running the RPM limit and that's making the motors run hot. I wonder. Continuing to clear the super chats. Oh, we're almost there. I'm almost caught up. Beyond Reality asks, thank you for £2, Beyond Reality. What's your thought on Flyfish Volador? 2. I will give you £2 worth of my thoughts on the Flyfish Volador 2. Oh, wrong window. The Volador 2. Do you mean this one? Or this one? I'm going to pick the X frame, personally. I'm going to pick the X5. Let's just assume that's what you mean. The Flyfish Volador X5. I hate... Oh, I talked about this on stream a while back. Not that long ago. Beyond Reality, I'm going to respect your super chat by responding. I talked about this a little bit. Oh, no. This was a... Oh, no. This wasn't on stream. Oh, God. This was on Josh Grau's Facebook page. Josh Grau flies this frame, and he posted a video of him doing some awesome freestyle with this frame. And I popped up and I was like, because these plastic LED pipes are a pet peeve of mine. I loathe them to the point where I literally, it's like my life's mission to make people stop using them, because they crack in a crash and then they cut the motor wires when they crack. So their whole purpose is to protect the motor wires. They don't do that. And personally, I can't remember the last time a prop actually cut a wire. So, like, these just are so dumb. And I popped up on Josh Grau's post and I was like, yeah, but F those plastic motor covers, am I right? Ha! And, like, people got super defensive and kind of offended. And I was like, okay, maybe I've misread the room. They were like, well, it's a good frame. You don't have to use them. Okay? And I'm like, yeah, no, I wasn't trying to insult the frame. I just have a pet peeve against those. So what are your thoughts about this? My thought is that if I say anything bad about it, fans of it are going to get up in my butt. And I won't enjoy that. It's got a lot of 3D printed shit. Arm guards are good. It's good to have arm guards. I'm not sure what that is. I mean, that's a lot of arms. You have to, you can throw off the arm before the arm breaks because the end is all chipped away. I mean, you got to have a 3D printed. Yeah, there's nothing there that's not essential. Got a lot of, there's a chin guard there to help protect the bottom plate. That's to hold the antenna. That's good. I don't know why this goes up underneath here. You just hold it in place. I like the metal front end. Metal front end improves durability. Generally. I'm a fan of it. Let's look at the camera mount. Single screw for the camera mount and then an arc to set the angle. That's fine, but if the camera needs to move forwards or backwards, because the depth of the camera is different, I don't know if you're going to have an option there, so it really locks you in. Good strong bracing here. Front end is going to be pretty tough. That's good. Looks like a pretty durable frame. As far as the battery pad goes, I really prefer sticky battery pad like Grip. I'm going to guess that this isn't that, and so I would probably replace that with my own. That 20 millimeter mounting, I'm going to assume it's 20 millimeter mounting. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. What is with you guys? I don't know why you would put that picture in. I mean, I guess you want people to, you're obligated to disclose the weight. That's just a total showstopper for me. 177 grams all up. I mean, for the frame. That's just a no-go for me, personally. That's an absolute no-go. It's too heavy for me. I mean, I guess it's designed to be a hardcore basher. It better be. How thick are the arms? 6 millimeter arms. Jeez. It's not even that thick. How did they hit that weight? 6 millimeter arms, 2.5 millimeter top plate, 2.5 millimeter bottom and middle plate. How did they hit 177 grams? Like, the tank is 170, 180 grams with 8 millimeter arms. I'm kind of stunned. Is it weird that I absolutely love those plastic things? Asks Bubby. I don't know, man. You do you. Ciati points out that's almost double the weight of a glide. Okay, fair. A glide is probably not that durable. I mean, the weight does go somewhere. But like the Rotor Riot tank, another frame that is designed for durability first and weight and performance last or second. Tank 5-inch. I think it's 180. Weight 175. So that's almost the exact same weight. The tank is almost the identical weight of the Volador. Now, there's no question. The Volador is 1,000% a more refined design than the tank. No question. Like, if I was going to buy a 180-gram frame, just based on the sort of aesthetics and the design of the frame, I would take the Volador over the tank. Because I just look at the tank and I'm like, just a plate. Like, it doesn't look like, I don't know. The aesthetics are less appealing to me. It's simple. I don't know why I can't get a whole. But like, this one has 6mm arms and 2.5mm plates. This is 2mm top plate, bottom plate, I see, and 8mm arms. Interesting. That's interesting. I mean, I saw the tank crash for a video that we made for Rotor Riot. I full throttle blasted the tank into the ground, into the dirt on purpose. And eventually it did break. And the arm didn't break, but the arm ripped out the bottom plate. Presumably that would be less likely to happen on the Volador with the 2.5mm plates. I don't know. They're 12 grams heavier than a Demibot, which is another ultra heavy, ultra durable frame. I don't know. I guess you have to start by accepting that you're going to build a 180-gram frame and then go from there. Glide is light enough, it's shockingly durable. No, the Glide is very durable for its weight. But it's not going to be, it can't have a frame as light as the Glide and have the durability of a 160-gram frame. You shouldn't. A lot of people posting up that the Glide is surprisingly durable. People like the Demibot. Yeah, what about Bot Grinder's frame? Oh, Bubby says that episode is coming out next Monday. I cannot wait. That episode was a freaking blast. That episode... let's put it this way. When you decide to full throttle into the ground, don't miss. I don't mean don't miss the ground. I mean, you better hit where you're intending to hit. Yeah. Alrighty. Continuing my attempt to clear the super chats. Eventually we'll get there. Oh my god, it's 9:30. This stream is flying by. Dizzy Dean FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Howdy, JB. First flight with the Apex 5-inch today. I got all the beeps, the connection to RC, and Vista 100%. Get out 50 feet. Drops out of the air. What am I doing wrong? It's fail-safing, right? Is it fail-safing? We're going to need more information, Dizzy Dean, and this may not be the best place to troubleshoot this problem. I'm going to have to recommend you email me, jb@joshuabardwell.com. Tell me what control link you're using, and then we'll start from there. The first thing I would do is I would check the RSSI DBM telemetry sensor, and I would use that to determine if your antenna or on your receiver was broken, or your antenna on your module. I would ask whether the failsafe consistently happens at a certain distance or whether it's sort of random. But we're gonna have to do some back and forth, and it's not really a good fit for the live stream with the delay and so forth. So email me. We'll go through it. Red Wabbit. Your newer DI... Thank you for a $5 super chat, Red Wabbit. We are a half hour from the end of the stream, and there's still maybe 10 super chats. We have 21 messages queued up, but I need to make sure I get through the super chats, And then I also need to show some love to the Discord. So if you definitely want to get yourself in on the live stream, it would be a good idea to leave a super chat. I will try to get to more non-super chat messages, but obviously I have to clear the super chats. That's sort of an obligation. Red Wabbit asks, your newer DIY drone kit is sold out on GetFPV. Will you come out with a new one, or will it ever go back in stock? So Red Wabbit, I wish they would put a notification on the page. The GetFPV DIY drone kit, they come into stock every 2 to 3 weeks. And then they immediately sell out. In fact, sometimes there are so many back orders that when a shipment comes in, it never shows in stock. And so people think that it's just never in stock and never shipping. And the truth is that's not true. So I don't know why they don't order more of them. If it's always out of stock, then why don't you order more and then have it be in stock and sell the F out of it? I don't know. They run the business. I don't run the business. So they presumably know how to run their store and are doing it right. I would say if you're looking to buy the GetFPV Bardwell budget build kit, you have to just put in a back order. And the thing is, then you will get the product in perhaps maybe a month at the out. I mean, I can't make you any promises, but I would say based on my understanding of how fast orders come in, maybe a month at the most, maybe less. And if that's not, I mean, unfortunately, that's just that they're so in demand. However, at this moment, they are on pause because a new version of the frame is coming out. That it's the V2 of the QAVS frame, and we will be updating the kit to support that frame. So at this moment, it's on pause until we update it with a new frame. And that's the situation. Continuing on, Jay Scarpa, thank you for a $5 super chat. What are your thoughts on the Cine Ape? Are you going to test it? So I just talked about the Cine Ape. I don't think I'm going to test it, just because I don't know. I'm not that excited about testing a new Cinewhoop right now. But like I said, it's a pretty Darwin FPV in general is pretty good value for money. James Thomas asks, hi, JB. Thank you for James for a $5 super chat. I have the Skyzone O4X and the Cobra X goggles. What's the go-to antenna setup for whoops with linear whips? So, James, you would think that if your tiny whoop has a linear antenna on it, the best thing to do would be to put a linear antenna on your goggles. I don't agree with that. The thing is, when you have two linear antennas and they are aligned the same, then they have the best signal transmission between them. But linear antennas, when they are 90 degrees out of phase, then you get something like 15 or maybe even more dB of loss, okay? And that's a lot of loss. And the problem is that the antenna on your quadcopter is not in a fixed orientation. It is constantly moving all over the place. So how can you guarantee that it will always be in alignment? You can't. So what I like to do is I run circular antennas on my goggle. And when you have a circular polarized antenna on the goggle, it doesn't matter what orientation the antenna is on the quad. Now, when you have a circular on the goggle and a linear on the quad, then you get a small amount of loss all the time. The best is to have a circular on both. But I'll take a small amount of loss all the time over sometimes having a huge amount of loss, which is what you have if you have dual linear. It's Blunty points out that if you're racing, just consider removing the antennas. Now, Blunty is talking about the antennas on your goggles. The reason for that is that when you're racing in an indoor environment, you can get a really high noise floor with a lot of multipathing, and taking the antennas off your goggles decreases the sensitivity of your receiver and will sometimes push that noise down below the noise floor of the receiver, meaning that you get a cleaner signal. You get a weaker signal, but a cleaner signal, which sometimes in an indoor environment, a whoop environment, can be preferable. So if you're flying tiny whoops and you're getting a ton of multipathing, try taking your antennas off. Don't do this during races. Do this during practice so you can figure out if it's going to work for you. It's a good point, Plenty. Thank you for that. Jay, everybody, thank you for a $5 super chat. This is like the third person to ask me about the Darwin FPV Cine Ape. Jay, I appreciate the donation. I did talk a little bit about the Cine Ape earlier in the stream, and I'm not going to go back and do that again, but you can keep an eye out on the Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips channel. In case you guys don't know, the Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips channel, that's where Cowboy Bardwell, we needed a different headshot for this, so we just picked this one. I am at Buc-ee's, if you guys don't want to know. In that, I am at Buc-ee's and trying on a hat. The Joshua Bardwell Livestream Clips channel is the official Livestream Clips channel for me. It's Blunty, goes through and cuts all my Livestream content out into clips. Oh, does Bardwell milk his goats? See? You're not going to find stuff like that on my main channel. Oh, interesting. Oh, this stuff. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Oh, we're even going to promote the, yeah, okay. So my Cine Ape discussion will probably go up there, so keep an eye out on that. But I'm not going to redo the discussion 3 times. I do appreciate the super chat. Oh, I accidentally clicked on this question from D. Campbell. Even though it's not a super chat, I'm trying to clear the super chats. I guess we'll go ahead and take it. Hey, JB, other than the Nano 90, what do you think the best HD0 camera is? The Runcam Micro. Like, that's just clearly the best, isn't it? Everybody who flies HD0 seems to say that. Like, I really think it's just there's a very simple answer there, and it's the Runcam Microcam. James Thomas, thank you for a $2 super chat. What's a good over-the-head box goggle strap? Okay, I don't know. Like, all of my goggles, I prefer like a 1.5 inch or a 2-inch fat strap if I can get one. And I never use an over-the-head strap unless the goggle just comes with one. Does anybody even really make aftermarket over-the-head goggle straps? I literally have no answer for you, James. I'm so sorry. Chat, got it. James Thomas says, I asked because I can't find one. I don't even know anybody who makes an aftermarket over-the-head strap. I literally don't know, James. Some goggles come with over-the-head straps because they're heavy. But as far as aftermarket ones, like, I guess I would look at a DJI one. Like, I think DJI makes an over-the-head strap. And if you could get it to work with your goggles, I guess probably it's pretty good. But I don't think there's a lot of demand for one. Travis Eastman, thank you for a $10 super chat. What would you recommend for a sub 250 drone with some sort of DJI system? I see the GepRC Smart 3.5 on your website, but I can't find it in stock. Oops. Sub 250 drone with DJI. What about it's a good sub 250 with DJI. Well, if not the GepRC Smart 3.5, what? The Alpha 85? I don't think the Alpha 85. I think 85 is too small for I think the 85 is too small for DJI, even the naked one. What about the Baby Hawk 2 HD? Is that in stock anywhere? Why is the GepRC Smart 3.5 not listed at GepRC? Yeah, what about the Baby Hawk 2 HD? That's sub 250, isn't it? If it's in stock anywhere, it'll be here. It's in stock. There. GetRC Smart 3.5 is in stock at GetRC. Also, let me just check something here. I am pretty sure, yeah, the GetRC affiliate is here. But the GetRC, the link has not been added. So let's just get that updated real quick. Hold on one second. There we go. We'll get that updated. Okay. So I would say get the GetRC Smart 3.5 at the GetRC website. It is in stock. Would I recommend the X-Dry that I reviewed, says Eric Toft. Yeah, I mean, again, the X-Dry that I reviewed, I'm not sure I would recommend it as a 3-inch freestyle basher. I mean, maybe. But I think if you're going to have a 3-inch sub 250 basher, don't put a GoPro on it. Just fly it with DVR, you know. It's really good for what it is, though. Black Jungle 308, thank you for a 550 reais super chat. What would you choose, pizza or focaccia? Pizza. Focaccia is bread. Focaccia is effing delicious bread, but it's just bread. Pizza is like a whole meal. No question, if I had to pick one. Thank you, MFR FPV, who asks for a 420 super chat. Well, that's a very strange amount there. But does the O3 hold up to 6S VBAT? It's too soon to say for sure, but as far as I can tell, it seems like it does. It's too soon to say for sure, but it seems like it does. Thank you, Luke's Media Co. for a $5 super chat. I have the TX16S with my full-size Crossfire link in the external set to Crossfire. It does power it on. Everything is all updated. But the transmitter won't notice it at all in the TBS Lite program. What is wrong? The most common thing, Luke, is that the TX and the RX wires going to the module are not like pinned out right. That's a thing that it could be. It's possible that your baud rate is too high, so you may need to go into the hardware screen and lower the baud rate for the external module. Sunshine has just pointed this out. Sunshine, thank you for pointing this out. Sunshine says that they have used this head strap and like it very much for those looking for an over-the-head head strap. The DJI Avata head strap here, available on eBay, $23. So if you're looking for an over-the-head head strap, there's one person who... Black Jungle. Black Jungle has been posting memes this entire stream. All of them have been quality and funny, but this one particularly tickles me. That's another reason to join the Discord server, is you get the entertainment of Black Jungle making memes. That's good. That's good. I like that a lot, Black Jungle. So Luke's Media Company, I would check the wiring to the JR Bay, and I would check the baud rate in the hardware screen. Turn the baud rate down to like 115K and see if it works. Wow. Wow. I'm Owen Wilson. Wow. We've caught up on all the super chats. Wow. Amazing. Woo. 15 minutes left in the stream. Let's take some questions from the patrons in the Discord server, and then we'll circle back around and we'll get some more questions from the regular chat. Here's a question from Vicky Barati, who says, I'm not sure how I feel that people have started tagging Blunty instead of me. Just feels, I don't know. I mean, they figured out that he's the one who's deciding which questions get queued up. Kind of liked it when they tagged me. If I'm traveling in the U.S., what are the airline rules for traveling with drones? Check everything. Lipos and carry-on. Where do we get the cool t-shirts I wear? Okay, so let's take these questions in order. Lipos always go in carry-on. Airlines never want your lipos to be in the cargo hold. Lipos always in your carry-on. Okay? There are limits about the size, the maximum size of a lipo. It's 100 watt hours. No typical FPV batteries, like for a 5-inch or a 6-inch drone, even come close. They're typically like 22, 23 watt hours. So only if you have, like, a rule of thumb for me is that a 5,000 milliamp hour 5S is a 100 watt hour battery. If you have anything smaller than that, don't worry about it. You can have as many of them as you want. There is no limit to the number of batteries as long as each battery is below 100 watt hours. The other thing is your tools. Check your tools. Technically, if you have like a screwdriver that's below 7 inches long, you're allowed to bring it on the plane. But like, I don't want to take any chances that somebody loses my tools. And some of my tools, like I have a Leatherman, so it has a knife on it. I don't want to separate my tools out. I just check my tools in the check bag. The drones themselves, doesn't matter. These t-shirts, this t-shirt comes from FPV Lux. But I have years of t-shirts from all over the damn place. So. Let's take another question from the Discord. This question is from Cathode. I assume that's how you say that name. Has there been any, and Cathode tagged me. Thank you, Cathode. Has there been any new way introduced into Betaflight that takes care of the air mode on-off problems, or is the best message still the logical switch in the radio? I mean, if you need to turn air mode off in Betaflight because you don't like the way Betaflight handles air mode, you have to do it manually. So you can do that by flipping a switch. You can do that with a logical switch based on the throttle, whichever way works for you. But the fundamental behavior of air mode, I don't think, has changed. One more. Left Step asks, I recently saw a post saying True X frames are for racing, Squashed X frames are for freestyle, and Dead Cat frames are cinematic. Is that fair or true? Left Step, that's not a crazy thing to say. True X gives the most neutral handling, the most balanced, and the matching behavior on pitch and roll. Squashed X pushes the props backwards while keeping them symmetrical. So the reason Squashed X is quote-unquote for freestyle is that freestyle pilots sometimes want to push the props backwards to get them out of view of the GoPro. Okay? So then what about Dead Cat? Dead Cat also pushes the front props back, but is asymmetrical. A Dead Cat layout is like wide props in the front and then V-shaped props in the back, and it's not symmetrical layout. The reason that a Dead Cat is worse for freestyle is that asymmetrical layout means that there is a small amount of coupling between the axes. When you do a roll, snap roll, you'll get a small amount of yaw movement, and the PID controller has to fight that, and some people think they can feel the difference. So, that's where those guidelines come from. Personally, I prefer to fly True X for freestyle. And with enough up tilt on the GoPro, you don't get props in view. Or if there are props in view, I don't care. I kind of like props being a little bit in view. It gives a little bit of a kind of a look to it. Okay? So obviously you can break those rules, but that's where those rules probably come from.
Can I pop in real quick? There's one super relevant question from Diz FPV.
Yeah, go for it.
Are custom motor mixes still relevant with those odd-shaped frames?
Oh, yeah, I see. I see why that's relevant. Yeah, for sure. So Diz FPV is talking about a custom motor mix. And wow, I'm going to guess that a lot of the people watching have never dealt with motor mixes or custom motor mixes. So a motor mix basically tells the flight controller where in space the motor is relative to the center of gravity and which direction the motor is going to push to move the quadcopter. So if you think about it, the flight controller needs to know that motor number 1 is on the left side of the quad and will push the left side of the quad this direction, so that when the flight controller wants to roll the quad that way, it knows that motor number 1 needs to spin faster. You follow? Now, we select standard motor mixes like Quad X, etc. But if you want to, you can make a custom motor mix that tries to compensate for the varying difference. Like if I have a quad with wide rectangle versus a symmetrical rectangle, technically you might want a different motor mix for those. Now, in my opinion, no, custom motor mixes are not relevant. Hang on. That's not the question he asked. So if you have a symmetrical frame, whether it's an X, a squashed X, a stretched X, I don't think you need a custom motor mix. If you were to do a custom motor mix with one of those symmetrical frames, the PID gains would change. Like you might change your PD balance, but at the end of the day, the PID controllers, you're just sort of shuffling the numbers around and it doesn't matter. If you have a symmetrical frame, then just find the right P gains, D gains, etc. for your quad and go fly it. Don't worry about custom motor mixes. But if you have an asymmetrical, here's a great picture from Sunshine in the Discord. Thank you, Sunshine. With an asymmetrical one, a custom motor mix can start to compensate and prevent that coupling of axes. So if you look at this frame, do you see that the front motor is further away from the center of gravity than the rear motor? And that means when we initiate a roll action, one of those arms is going to pull harder and move faster than the other one. And that will induce a small amount of yaw, which then the PID controller will have to notice and react to. But if we put in a custom motor mix, the PID controller will preemptively make one motor speed up slower than the other and prevent that coupling from happening in the first place. And so, in theory, yes, if you care about acro performance and you have a quad that has an asymmetrical arm layout, a custom motor mix can help. But here's the thing. If you care about acro performance, just get a frame that has a symmetrical layout and don't mess with custom motor mixing, is my actual advice. Thank you, Plenty. Thanks for pointing that out. We got another super chat. I certainly can't avoid that. Focus FPV asks, thank you for a $5 super chat, Focus. Do we still need your Tiny Whoop air mode fix hack from a year ago, or has anyone improved it? Nothing has really fundamentally changed, I don't think. I don't know if you need that. Like a lot of people just fly without it, but I don't think the air mode behavior has really changed. So if you used it a year ago, I don't see why you would stop using it today. All right, let's close out the stream. We got 7 minutes left in the stream. By the way, Ciati FPV. Oh, good question, Ciati. Ciati's going to be streaming at 10 after I finish up. Ciati says, continuing the question about motor mixing, wouldn't the PID loop running at 4,000 cycles per second be plenty fast to take care of it? Yeah, so Ciati, the limiting factor there, in my opinion, is the response time of the motors. So the motors themselves can only change speed so fast. So you initiate a snap roll, okay? The flight controller speeds up the two right side motors by the same amount at the same time. The quad begins to roll, and because of the asymmetrical arm layout, it also slightly starts to yaw. The PID controller detects that yaw and begins accruing P and D, and they start accruing. Well, the P and the D don't immediately just jump to a value that fixes the problem. There's a period of time where the uncommanded movement has begun to occur, but the flight controller hasn't responded to it quite yet. And then it has to change the speed of the motors. And if you think about it, it's going to have to change the speed of the motors. One of the motors is going to have to slow down. And that is actually, like, braking is not ultra responsive compared to acceleration. So the PID controller is running at 4,000 hertz or 4 kilohertz, but there are other things that make the response time of the quad slower. And so that's why the motor mixing can make it's a really small effect for the record. Like, you would barely notice it. Most people, I think, would. What's the point of an asymmetrical frame to begin with? I don't know. Good question. Stop building asymmetrical frames, you boneheads. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Troy Wentworth wants to know, what's the best ESC configurator for whoops? And why would a Mobula 7 V2 act weird on 1S after running a 2S? Troy Wentworth, I use esc-configurator.com. That can flash BlueJay, can flash BLHeli-S. That's what I use. I would say the BlueJay firmware is my go-to for BLHeli-S flight controllers for the tiny whoops. Why would it act weird on 1S after running a 2S? I don't know. How is it acting weird? That's a tougher one. Like, did the 2S battery fry the ESC or something? I don't know. Brandon Bean says custom motor mixes is really splitting hairs. I never saw it make huge improvements worth doing. I agree. I tried a lot because I was convinced it should, but I couldn't quantify it. I basically agree, Brandon Beans. I mean, even for a frame that is asymmetrical, they're usually not that asymmetrical. It's pretty subtle. We got a question here from HD Gamer Lewis, who says, any chance you'd be interested in making a video aimed at people getting back into FPV and maybe have some old 2019 era gear? Almost a refresher of what I've missed. I mean, that's a question. I don't know why. Has it just been you, Lewis? I've seen that question floating around. It's hard for me to believe that, like, I don't know, are there just a bunch of people getting back into FPV? It's tough because, like, number one, where do you draw the line? Okay, how far back do I go? And number two, then what I have to do is I have to, like, what do I do? Go back through the Betaflight release notes and, like, try to, you know, make a list of all the things that changed throughout the years? Would that be a popular video? Would that be, like, valuable? I have to say, I just think that basically what you should do is you should start with a Betaflight 4.3 tutorial as if you were starting from scratch. You know? I think it would be really tough to say, if you left FPV in 2018, here's what you missed. I don't know. That might be a popular video. That's tough. I think it might be interesting kind of as just a retrospective. I don't know how useful it would be as like a tutorial. Or do what Bubby does and just stay on Betaflight 357. Bubby, stop giving people bad advice. No. Seymour 305 Morris asks, is it okay to use a freestyle drone like the Nazgul 5 for racing? I don't have a budget for a racing drone. Yeah, 100%. Just do it. Just get out there and do it. You'll be fine. A freestyle drone is not going to probably be as fast as a racing drone, but you're probably a noob anyway. You probably weren't going to win the race anyway. So the durability is going to be a little different, but it'll be fine. Just get out there and do it. Don't stress about it. STW Giveaways wants to know, for a $1,000 bind and fly setup, is the Rotor Riot 5-inch starter the way to go for freestyle? STW Giveaways, if you're talking about $1,000, I think you're talking about the Rotor Riot Cinewhoop build. I would get that with the 3.5-inch props and no prop guards. It comes in two versions. For freestyle, the 3.5 inches is the one I would get, not the one with the prop guards. And I would say that the big advantage. Like, that's not the best flying 3.5 inch you're going to get, but Rotor Riot will send you the entire kit, completely configured. Literally, just take it out of the box, power, charge up a battery, turn everything on, and go fly. Literally, it is one of the only things in the FPV hobby where every single piece has been done for you and you can just fly it. And that's why when people say, oh, it's so expensive, well, maybe it is or maybe it isn't. But there's like almost no one else. There are people who will sell you a bind and fly quad, but then you got to set up the controller and you got to do this bullshit in Betaflight. Almost no one just will sell you a kit where everything is ready to go. And so in some sense, Rotor Riot can just charge whatever they want because they're one of the only companies selling this exact product. Now, is it worth it to you? That's your money and your time, and you just have to decide. You talk about the 5-inch starter kit. Well, the same answer applies, although I wasn't aware that it was $1,000. It's the same answer for the 5-inch as it is for the Cine. I would personally pick the Vanny style. Sorry, Bubby. Bubby's they're all good, but I would personally pick the Vanny style. But all of them have that same advantage. And the other thing is that they're all solder free. So if you want to learn to solder and repair them, you can. But if you don't want to learn to solder, you can simply buy a replacement part from Rotor Riot, unplug the old one, plug in the new one, and it's ready to go. Literally, no configuration, flight controller or ESC. It is completely ready to go. So if you're a person who cares more about convenience and values your time over your money, I think they're a solid choice. That is going to bring us, that is going to bring us to the end of the stream. Wow. Ciati, you're going to give me 2 more minutes, Ciati. Thank you guys. Thank you, Blunty. Blunty, you're unmuted. You can jump in. Thank you, man. How did that go? What do you think?
Good. Am I definitely unmuted? Just making sure.
You're not muted.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
well, yeah, I'm glad. I think that went well.
I noticed at the beginning of the stream, you pinned a bunch of messages responding to what I was saying, which I think last stream people said it was a little impersonal, like I was just like rattling off answers, and it was really nice at the beginning of the stream that it felt like I could be a little more interactive and a little more personal and take some time. I think that tapered off toward the end. I don't know if the quality of the comments just got lower or we just got overwhelmed. Yeah, it's good. You guys love to get your feedback on the new format. I think we're definitely getting through more content and less time of me just going, oh, I don't know, what question am I going to take? Time flew for me.
I'll just say this was a really busy chat for questions. We missed a bunch of the pleb chats as we called them. But it was a really busy super chat session. Super chats took us almost to the end of the stream. So
yeah, so today $175 in super chats. That's high for a Monday night. That's like a good Saturday. Monday night's usually a little slower. So on the one hand, I hate to like give the impression that we only pay attention to super chats. But also I feel like an obligation to answer super chats first because people paid actual money to get me to answer their questions. So if people flood us with super chats, then those are going to take priority over the other questions. And then, that's just how it's going to be. Anyway, that's going to do it, though. OneIFPV says the new format is too hectic. I like the old format, more laid back. So I'll tell you OneIFPV, and again, Ciati, apologize for going long and running over your time. I'm sure he says he's okay with it. He's posting the link. Ciati is posting the link to his stream, so head on over there when you get tired of hearing me talk. Bobby Bags points out I don't see much of the random chat. The thing is, Bobby Bags, and by the way, I will get back to OneIFPV's question too. Bobby Bags, I often didn't see much of the random chat anyway because I would be so busy talking that when I finished the question, I would then look down and check the chat, and sometimes I would catch stuff. But I think this way, Blunty can focus on catching stuff, and he'll pin questions and stuff so that when I am ready to sort of break away, I can look over to the right and see he's caught questions that I would have missed. So I think there's potential in this format for me to be more interactive and see more of the random chat. The other thing I would say, OneIFPV, the motivation for this was that we were not getting as much content for the Livestream Clips channel. And the Livestream Clips channel was kind of, and I was like, what can we do to try to get, to boost that up a little? So the goal is to answer more questions, which I think does provide more value, but it is a little less like just sort of hanging out.
The Black Jungle's meme there, I think that's pretty relevant.
Yeah. It's the first time you've appreciated one of Black Jungle's memes, I think. Yeah. So anyway, we'll keep working it. We'll see. We'll keep seeing what works. And if I can help more people, I mean, we're going to keep watching I'll keep watching the chat revenue, and I'll keep watching the stats on the live streams. We're basically going to keep doing this experiment through the end of April and look at the stats, look at the KPIs. We have KPIs now, Blunty. Oh my God. I don't know how I feel about that. We'll keep looking at the stats for April, and then we'll decide if we're going to, what's going to happen. But it's going to keep going until the end of April for sure, just to get one 30-day block. B-Man FPV says, what if you did one stream the old way, one the new way? Yeah, we're going to do this through the end of April. We're going to hang on to it, and we're going to see what happens. Anyway. Joshua Bardwell's the beauty, Blunty is the brains. I feel like I have some brains. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Head on over to Ciati's stream, and we are going to end the stream here. See you tomorrow for the news, everybody.